So you know me guys, I don't really review movies on my channel, but I do talk about whatever piques my interest, what I find fascinating, and talk about things that inspire me. I talk about things that make me want to yap on this channel. Today we're going to talk about highly anticipated, well overhyped, Ryan Coogler's recent film that just came out by the name of Sinners. If you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is V, and here on this channel I talk about practically, at this point, anything. Most of my interests revolve around photography, art, fashion, visual culture, all these kind of things. If you have been a subscriber for some time, you know that I like very artistic, very well done, beautifully shot movies. I really appreciate visual intricacies and technicalities, and you know, I'm very nerdy about this kind of stuff. I'm not really a huge fan of like very popular cinema, I would say. I'm not a huge fan of like action blockbuster stuff. This is honestly my first time seeing Ryan Coogler's movie. My boyfriend, he's more educated, I guess. He's more invested, you know, into his era. Or actually, you know, I have seen Black Panther, but I was not a huge fan because I'm just in general, like, I don't really like what Marvel does. I've never seen Creed movies, never seen anything else by him. Didn't really honestly have any incentive in the beginning to go and watch it, even though I've heard a lot from people who went to see it. It kept popping up on my Instagram, my social media, people kept talking about it. And then one day, obviously, my wonderful boyfriend suggested that we go and see it in theaters. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. You know, I didn't have a lot of expectations because I didn't really, you know, like, I've never been a huge fan of the director. I wasn't really familiar with his previous films. But to say that I left the theater completely shocked, completely at the lack of any words to express how I felt, is to say nothing, because this movie kind of struck me to my very core. Like, it definitely succeeded I didn't even have any expectations, so it was just like, the impression was basically just like through the roof. It was a perfect balance between action and, you know, storytelling, narrative. In this video, I wanted to talk to you about why this movie is so amazing, and why, if you are interested in arts, in cinema, in photography, visual things, you're definitely gonna like that movie. There's several reasons, and I guess the most important reason for me, especially as a person who is really involved in visual arts and photography specifically, who is very involved with visual storytelling, this is like a prime example of a perfect use of symbolism in cinema, in my opinion. It's so well balanced. Even though it leans towards an action blockbuster kind of movie, there's so much narrative going on. There's so many different details that you see and you kind of can read into. So again, like the storytelling, the narrative, how it's built, fascinating. I really appreciate when directors, or any artist for that matter, when they tell you a story or they present you a certain narrative through their work, through a series of images, or through a film, or through, it could be, I don't know, like some sort of performance piece. It doesn't matter. Medium basically doesn't matter. But when you, as a viewer, can connect to the story that the artist, the author is telling you, it is the most satisfying feeling ever. And when you understand what the author is talking about, the most satisfying feeling ever. And this was exactly the case. What I appreciate, I kind of started this point, as I already mentioned, what I appreciated the most is that even though it was leaning towards the blockbuster action film, there was a lot of interesting things that you could read into, yet it wasn't one of those like pretentious art house movies that I personally prefer for myself, or like I'm kind of like, I get nerdy about like really crazy art house stuff and a lot of like unconventional storytelling in cinema. But it was just so perfect. It wasn't primitive and it wasn't pretentious. It was like this perfect middle ground kind of, that I feel like a lot of people would understand. It's, you know, you go in, I feel like, because it was made by the American director, I feel like you go in, you just have to kind of know basic, you know, American history, especially like African American history, you know, the history of American South post Civil War, you know, just like knowing kind of the context that the movie was made in is enough. And you don't have to be like an expert on politics or history or whatever. You just have to like know your basics. And for me, I'm not an American, you know, like I'm not an expert again, or like American history. I just know like very basic cultural things and, you know, historical things. And that was perfectly, you know, enough for me to understand what the movie is about and to read into a lot of different symbols that the author kind of put into the narrative. And it made it really exciting because then it feels like, you know, like I'm a big nerd for these kind of things. It feels like you're going on a hunt and, you know, or like you're kind of a detective and you are given these clues about characters or about certain scenes or about certain, you know, like relationships and dynamics between characters, and you start reading into them, and it's not given to you like to your face. It's not really processed for you and like presented to you. You have to like guess things and like think about things and, you know, like put one and two together, you know, and like kind of like do like I'm kind of like, I'm tempted to call it like work, you know, in order to connect with the movie. And it's extremely exciting. I don't know, especially for me. I mean, of course it depends on what kind of cinema, the kind of movie genres you're into, but this is definitely, you know, kind of this like interplay between the director and the storyteller and the viewer. Brilliant, in my opinion. If you want to dive into like more symbolic cinema full of metaphors and whatever, I feel like this is such a, like, this should be like your holy grail. There's so many things to unpack, yet you still can easily understand a lot of reference. You don't have to be, again, like a expert on a certain topic. Just so well made. From a, again, both from a, like a storytelling perspective and technically, it was so beautiful, very beautifully shot, so many beautiful frames, beautiful shots. The use of color and the costumes and the locations were just 10 out of 10, you know? And again, I don't usually, if you know me, like I'm a very nerdy girl. I prefer, you know, like a pretentious artsy shit, basically. That's like kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it my intellectual kink in a way. But this was, and usually like Ryan Coogler is not my type of director, you know? I'm really into like French New Wave, or I'm really into Italian cinema. Like my favorite director is Paolo Sorrentino. I like French directors like Gaspar Noé, who's a crazy motherfucker, and like you have to really, you know, be ready to watch his stuff. So like to give you kind of like a scope of what interests me. And Ryan Coogler is not the director that I would usually go for. Yet I was left completely speechless, surprised, and just, you know, fascinated. Another interesting thing that's kind of related to what I'm talking about now, the fact that the whole movie, a 2.5-hour film, it basically tells you a story of 24 hours. It's not like the narrative is not spread across like historical timeline or anything. It's just a story basically of one day, 24 hours. And I really also like it. Maybe, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but it has kind of like the loop narrative. So it starts at the end and then it jumps to the beginning and it tells you basically throughout the movie detail, like the director tells you how the person got to the point from which the movie started, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure if it's called like a loop narrative. I'm not, you know, I don't know the technical terms around, you know, cinematic narratives, but you get what I'm saying. And because of that, because it's just basically a span of 24 hours, there's so many intricate details that are woven into the narrative. And there's so many things that you can look out for and appreciate. Another thing that I think is hard to miss when you're watching this movie is the use of music. And all the music that was played throughout the film just gave me chills. All the songs that they were singing, all the dancing, how the music scenes were set and shot was just pure art, you know, even though see, I was about to say, okay, it leans towards, again, like blockbuster, like commercial cinema, but then it's such a like piece of art if you think about it. It's just like done in such a cool way that like you could look at it as a commercial cinema, but it's not, because it's just, there's so many cool things happening, you know. Usually commercial cinema, like Marvel, like, to me it's just, it's pure entertainment, it's not art. But this, it, like, I feel like that's why it makes me, you know, so riled up. I don't know if it's the right word to use. It makes me so excited because it walks on the edge of like commercial and artistic cinema, you know. It's like such a perfect balance. And again, I'm trying to talk to you about this without giving out any spoilers, so you can go and appreciate it for yourself, because it's definitely worth it, especially on big screen in cinema. You should definitely give it space. You should definitely appreciate it in theaters and make it kind of like a cinema experience for yourself. When you're watching movies on Netflix versus when you're watching them in theaters, it's the same as seeing a photograph or a piece of art on your Instagram or like on your screen versus seeing it in the gallery in real life, whether it's a sculpture and you see it and you see it in 3D, and you can, I don't know, sometimes you can touch it, whatever, or if it's a photographic print that's on the wall and you interact with it as a physical object, you know, it becomes an experience, right? It's not just like a random photo on your phone screen. The same goes for cinema, and like the same goes for films. And I feel like Sinners by Ryan Coogler is definitely a movie that you should appreciate in theaters. Listen, go watch it. That's all I'm saying. It's a brilliant film. I really appreciate it. It touched me so deeply that I'm sitting in front of you and making a video about this, even though I'm in no shape or form a film critic, a film expert. It's just, I basically yap about things that pique my interest, as I already mentioned in the beginning of this video. But yeah, finish watching this video, go buy a ticket to see Sinners in theaters, and then come back and let me know in the comments what you think about it. Or if you've watched it already, what are your thoughts? Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. But yeah, that's about it. That was like a little encouragement for you to go see it, and like reasons, I guess, why you should spend 2.5 hours of your life on that on that film, because it's definitely going to be worth it. And again, if you're an art nerd like myself, if you like symbolism, metaphors, you will appreciate it even more. That's it for today. I hope this will inspire you to go see it. I have more videos on my channel where I yap about stuff that's interesting to me. You can go check it out down there somewhere. If you like it, I would appreciate it if you subscribe. I like seeing our little artsy, yappy community here grow. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.